So we left off as we made it out of the jungle safely. Then we headed to a cool little camp spot on a lake.
Hello. Here we are beside this beautiful lake. This is one of those spots that was an iOverlander one. And it's 10Q, so that's like $1.10 or $1.20 to camp here. Nice spot. No real facilities, but we don't really need them anyways. There's this pretty cool palapa, and the owner of the house up the hill came down and turned on the power and screwed in a light bulb. There wasn't one in there when we came down. And he was like, yeah, there's power, and he's just letting us know that we could use it and we could camp over there if we wanted to. But as always, really nice people. But this lake's amazing. We're camped on the edge of. It's a nice change from being in the jungle and having mosquitoes everywhere. It's a pretty good sized lake, as you can see. We're gonna actually go around the lake today, and tonight or tomorrow morning meet up with our friend Vince, who we saw last weekend, and do some off-roading up to a mountain. So I'm excited to get high in elevation and just kind of have the terrain change. So yeah, not so bad.
From here, we booked it to Chillasco, where Vince was taking some of his coworkers to the top of a mountain in the nearby Biosphere Preserva, Sierra De Las Minas, a trail he said he had run several times. He had also invited another family we had met back at Overland Oasis in a Defender 110, so we thought it sounded like a good time and headed that way. On our way, we got to meet up with another new friend from Instagram. We had lunch and chatted. He had an 80 series as well. Always fun to meet up with like-minded people. By the time we arrived in Chillasco, it was dark. We were invited to stay in Carlos's yard, one of Vince's coworkers, and to join his family for dinner and a birthday celebration. Carlos's family was so kind and welcoming. And the next morning, we were off, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
We are heading up into Sierra De Las Minas. We got a Defender 110, which is Marcus. We met at Overlander's Oasis. Yeah. We got Vince's FJ Cruiser and Vince's Patrol behind us, and then our truck. So yeah, it should be a good time. And it's been raining like crazy, so I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna be a mud pit. So I'm glad we got our new mud ring.
On the way up the mountain, we stopped to check out a little panela making operation. Panela, which is similar to brown sugar, is made from sugarcane. The mule brings the sugarcane, which is then crushed, and the juice is boiled down, using the remaining bits of sugarcane to fuel the fire. It is then put in molds, and voila!
This is the finished product.
We stopped at the entry to the park at the house of Juan Carlos, who watches over the land Sierra De Las Minas is on. He loves this land. In fact, one of his sons died fighting for this land. Him and his family welcomed us and offered us coffee. At this point, it was clear that the Defender would not be making the trip up the mountain, as it could barely make it up the hill to Juan Carlos's house. The mud was just too slick. So it was decided that Marcus, his wife, and their 2 kids would pack up what they needed for the night, and one of the trucks would come back and grab them and their belongings and bring them up to the top later. Vince said it would only take the trucks about an hour to get to the top. So, rolling with the punches, we split up and continued up the mountain minus 1 truck. You can see just how slippery the mud is. It was like ice. Goose, of course, making it in one try. Between how capable he is and Tim's driving skills, they always put other trucks to shame. What would I do without them?
Turn.
These guys are Mario and Christian. Vince had hired them both. Christian to drive his FJ Cruiser and Mario just to operate the chainsaw.
Está bien, Christian, está bien.
It was Mario's time to shine. The trail was blocked by a tree. Tim is never afraid to jump in and get dirty, and it was fun to see how it inspired Carlos as well. Teamwork. Eventually, Tim, Mario, Christian, and Carlos got the giant tree out of our way, and it was onward and upward. After about 3 hours of muddy hills, down trees, and lots of beautiful forest, Vince's passengers had decided they had had enough of driving and would rather walk up the rest of the way and await his arrival with all of their gear. With Mario as their guide to the top, they set out walking, and we decided we should probably go and get Marcus and family, as we had already gone over the estimated time we had given them. And I have to say, it was heartbreaking to undo all the hard-earned kilometers we had gained over the past 3 hours. But luckily, Marcus and family had decided they should start hiking, and we ran into them about halfway down the mountain. So it was back up the mountain in hopes that from where we left off, we would be hitting the peak in another hour or two. Little did we know what was in store. Vince was determined to get that little patrol up the hill, but it was just not going to happen.
Just tell me what you need, Tim.
Alright, right now nothing. I'm just gonna get up as high as I can, and we're gonna pull the winch line, and then we'll attach it.
Vince finally and reluctantly agreed to let Tim go at first to get Goose as far up the hill as he could, and then we would be able to use the winch. Unfortunately, the failed attempts by the patrol had only polished off the track as well as dug ruts in all the wrong places, making it a lot harder than it had originally been. Even still, Tim was able to get Goose about halfway up the steep track. At this point, things got real, and filming became less of a priority. With the majority of our group now waiting at the top of the mountain, I had the helping hands of Christian and Marcus. We used max tracks to gain a little more elevation before it was time to pull out some winch line.
You've got 2 in the front of your back tires. You don't want to go back because you'll just slide.
You want in front?
I think I'm going to try to put them in front. Okay. Here you go.
So here we are, Sierra De Las Minas, covered in mud, and it's a good time. we've got Vince back there, Vince Brody. It's actually a cool trail. It's just really muddy. It's been raining all day, rained for the last few days, so it's quite tough. So we used 4 max tracks, then 6 max tracks, and we're just spitting them out. So it doesn't really do the trick, although they got us up a lot of stuff so far. And now we're just pulling, well, I say I'm just sitting in a truck holding the brake really hard, operating the winch, but as per the usual, Kelsey's working her tail off, and so yeah, we'll get it done. So we are sort of like elephant chained. Vince is behind me. We were going to put the FJ Cruiser behind him. I hope that it can make it up this hill, because if it can't, we have to come back and grab him and winch him up too. So we were going to put all 3 vehicles in a row. He's pretty sure the FJ Cruiser can make it, so we'll see. If not, we might just leave it down there and camp up the hill and go get it tomorrow. All right, check in with a little bit.
And thus began the tedious process of winching up the hill.
Okay. We'll keep going further. Yeah, get past wherever it is on the tree. Yep. I'm gonna load you up on this side now, I think.
How is it hooked?
It's not yet.
Oh, okay.
Every time we would get to the end of a pull, Tim would stop, start to spool out the winch, and we would all hold our breath to see if the mud would allow him to stay in place or if we would need to chock the tires before rigging the next pull. At a certain point, we reached a less steep spot between the hill we just made it up and the even steeper hill, although shorter, ahead. And Vince decided him and the patrol could make it the rest of the way without Goose's pull. So he detached and watched as Goose continued making slow progress, mostly via winch, and occasionally Tim was able to drive a few feet, before the slick mud and the slope prevailed again.
One more.
So here we are, just a few feet from where we've been. We got up to there where you can see the tracks, winch assisted, but then the patrol is spinning tires back here, so we've come back to Hilton, and I think at this point we'll just keep them connected. No point in letting it try on its own, because we don't want to winch twice. So yeah, good times. No damage on the truck or anything, just a hearty workout for it, but we're not doing anything that should be hurting anything. Certainly a lot of use on the winch, but yeah, we just need to make it up there before dark. We got about an hour, so we need to hustle and quit dicking around.
It doesn't work, it doesn't work.
see how we do here. No idea, really. Probably stuck again, to be honest. So. Damn, not much.
And here we are, back to where we were an hour ago, now with Vince in tow.
You want to drive, babe? I'll trade you.
That's okay. So many mosquitoes.
You need a spray?
Yeah, if I close my eyes, will you just spray my face?
Yep.
2,000 years later.
Go for it in the FJA. And we'll see how that goes and go from there. Alright, here we are. You can't really see me. Update. You can see the jungle out there. It's getting dark and we're doing some winching, so I'm going to get back to it and see if we can make it to camp. That's my wife right there. She's covered in mud, covered in mosquitoes right now. They've attacked us completely. They're in the truck too. We're covered in repellent, but it doesn't really matter. And she's been out in the mud for a few hours now, drawing winch line. And right behind me I've got Vince's Nissan Patrol. It's just so slick and so steep. We're both just fully locked up, spinning tires. It doesn't really matter, high pressure, low pressure. So it's just one of those where we got a winch. So she's been rigging and re-rigging and re-rigging. I don't even know how many times. She's amazing. I don't know how to properly apologize or thank. I think it's more thank or apologize for meeting me, I guess, but she's amazing.
A few inches later.
So here we are, 30-40 minutes later. I know this mic is tough to hear, so I'm going to try and talk into the front of it, but Kelsey's still working her ass off. I don't know, I feel horrible sitting here. I've offered to change seats with her, but she's more comfortable with me in the truck operating the winch, and that's fine. She is just sweating head to toe, covered in mud, head to toe, mosquito bites, head to toe. And every time we come around a corner there's another big hill, so it's okay. You know, it's a gnarly trail, no worries, but man, I just feel bad for her. I just want to be able to tell her I got this and you can go to bed in the passenger seat, but we're a team. We're the luckiest guy in the world.
Now we were all exhausted. Christian was a champ. He hung in with me the whole night. Never having had any recovery experience, he took all my instruction. Even with the language barrier, he was slogging it out. At this point, Vince decided he didn't like being towed up the hill, so again, he wanted to detach from Goose so he could make it on his own. Tim said it was his choice, and if he chose to disconnect, we would not be coming back. He could not make me do more work than necessary. Not again. So, trying not to feel like we were abandoning Vince due to his choice, Tim and I soldiered on. When we finally reached the top, we shared our food with the hungry people who hadn't bargained for this adventure at all. They were cold and tired. We even found out they had been locked out of the cabin because Vince had the key. I felt so bad for them. It was a long night for everyone.
Thousands of tears later.
Good morning. We made it up the mountain last night. It was very late and very hard. And then this morning, as we were leaving camp and I was spotting, I made a mistake.
Well, we slid. It wasn't a mistake necessarily. It was also we slid because it's very muddy.
And we got a big dent in Goose. And that really sucks. I'm really tired today, so I'm feeling very emotional about it, but
We'll show you the dent in a second. And so what we're doing this morning is last night we were winching and towing Vince his patrol up stuff. The FJ Cruiser eventually got so close to the edge we were just going to leave it there because it was kind of starting to fall off a bit. So that's parked further down the mountain. The patrol, we kept winching. Vince wanted to try it without the winch. But once we got up this last hill, it was so gnarly, there's no way we were going to back down it again. So his truck, he kept trying with Max Tracks. The front end fell off the track. So, yeah, I'm completely locked up brakes right now. We're just cruising. So his truck's front end is off the trail and in the bushes. So we're heading down to rig up a offset winch, put a snatch ring into a tree, and see if we can pull his truck back onto the track. Once he's on, we'll continue down the mountain and we'll get to the FJ Cruiser and do whatever we got to do to get that one on the trail. And then I think we're just gonna sleep a lot. I didn't sleep at all last night because I knew I was gonna need to figure something out to get him out of this. So I haven't slept in a few nights now. So just really tired. But we'll figure it out. Love you. Okay, keep it going. Stop. Bump it.
In.
In. One more. One more. One more. One more. One more. One more. Stop. Bump it out. Pull out. Pull out. Stop. Leave it right there. If he's in it and he puts it in reverse, it should come with that much pulling. So.
We just got truck number 1 unstuck. Sorry I missed the video. Our GoPro is now a block of mud, and it's a little bit hard to film when you're winching and working. So it is unstuck. Hopefully we don't get stuck again, and then we got one more truck to go get. Yeah, it's been a really hard 2 days. Hurting the truck for me it sucks. I mean, this is not a toy, this is our home. Literally, this is our home. So doing really tough trails like this puts so much wear and tear on our home, and now a big dent. And it ripped the fender flare off, so it's pretty noticeable, and it really sucks.
Further down the hill, we did the same with the FJ Cruiser. What an adventure. For me, the highlight of those 2 days was the respect and friendship gained from the local guys. As we were saying goodbye, Christian gave me a hug and told me how strong I was, what a good team Tim and I make, and how much he had learned working alongside us. I could not have received a bigger compliment. It was such a good feeling to experience what a good team Tim, Goose, and I make. When it comes to the tough stuff, we buckle down and make it happen. We could not wait to get off that mountain and get some sleep, though. All's well that ends well.
Yeah, and if you ran over it, then it might be smushed.
So we were looking for the GoPro. It was suction cupped to the door and we lost it. There it is. It's still recording, so that's good.
I'm just gonna set it right.
We're just gonna set it inside and put it in a trash bag. No more GoPro footage, but the footage we got hopefully is decent. All right, time to go back to winching.
2 men, not gay, and they're leaf blower.
It's a bit of a love story, wouldn't you say?
You just like the sound it makes me. So.
Yeah, literally as a kid, this sound would have just entertained me for hours. Come on, that's wonderful.
Hey, sorry, big old truck. Good job hauling everybody up here.